ransom my soul. Calvary covers it all. No one but Jesus can make us pure as snow. We stand in your freedom. Calvary covers it all. Calvary covers it all. My sin and shame, they don't count anymore. All praise to the one who has ransomed my soul. Calvary covers it all. Singing Calvary covers it all. My sin and shame, they don't count anymore. All praise to the one who has ransomed my soul. Calvary covers it all. Amen. You may be seated.
Well, good morning, everybody. How are we feeling today? Not a lot of preparation. I can just kind of, apologize up front, and we could just do something else. And then as I was thinking about the text today, though, actually, I was just like, I don't know. I feel like some of the things I experienced this week are like a little taste of what's in this passage. And I mean a little taste. And a very different. You'll see what I mean. But before we get into the text today, I need you guys to help me out with something. I'm going off camera, but I'm coming back. So don't worry, I'm not leaving. All right, so we have this lovely whiteboard that says good morning, and I'm going to erase that because I need you guys to help me. Has anybody heard a sermon about love before? If you've ever heard a sermon, you've heard a sermon about love. This sermon is about hate. So there you go. But I need you guys to help me out. I need you to help me come up with reasons why one person might hate another person. So we're not looking for the right answer. Obviously, we should love people and not hate them. Okay, we all know that, right? All right. But why do people hate other people? Jealousy. Everybody else is jealous that you said that first. You guys, lack of trust. Ooh. Pride. You guys get to make fun of my drawings. Now you get to make fun of my handwriting today. Fear. Misunderstanding. This one's going to take me a while to write, so don't say anything else. Okay, I'm ready. Is that it? Did we get them all? This is the exhaustive list of all the reasons one might hate another. How about can I say one? How about insecurity? Right? Somebody who's like really good at something you wish you were really good at, right? Past conflict, yes. For sure. Just going to write /generation. Anything else? Expectations. Elaborate on that a little bit. Right. Okay. So you expect certain things from somebody, or you expect them to be a certain way, and they don't meet those expectations, kind of thing. Or like you expect this is how to be a decent person and treat other people, and they're not doing that, kind of thing. Yeah. That's a good one. What else? I'm sorry. I'm going to give you guys a hard time with the camera today. I'm going to be all over the place. Oh man, I was waiting for somebody to say it. Politics, the P word. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. What about people never hate each other because of like ethnicity or race or anything like that, right? I mean, they used to in the past, but nobody does anymore. We're all beyond it today, right? Okay. What else? Gotcha. Yeah, so sometimes just like you're brought up to hate people, you're just brought up like we don't like those people. Yeah, or like out of loyalty, right? Okay. I'm just going to write family. I'm going to write family/loyalty. It's good for me to tell you what I'm writing before I write it. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. Just, oh, yeah, that's a word. This is in Greek. That's why you can't read it. Oh, yes. And Brad, we all know exactly who you mean by the wrong college. Yes. Yep. I'm just going to write U of M here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's no shortage of reasons that people hate other people, right? Has anybody in here like been perfect and never like you've always loved everybody and you've never shown hate to anyone? Okay, good. I thought I was the only one, so I'm glad I'm not. Yeah, it's not a secret that there's a lot of conflict in our world, right? People do not treat other people the way that they should, right? That's no secret. That's why we have wars. That's why even when there's a pandemic, it makes us all hate each other even more. You know, even things like a crisis that you hope would at least unite us, we can always find something to be mad about, right? Talking about politics and everything. Yeah, I had some people this week who hated me. Boy, did they hate me. So like I was saying, I was working at the bank. I was the only one at the branch who could do teller transactions. And so there were some days recently where our branch had to be closed because there was just nobody to run it. Like everybody who worked there was sick or had to quarantine because of COVID or whatever. And and there was nobody else to run it, so they just closed the branch for the day. And then also, with me being there this week, the only one able to do transactions, what we will sometimes do in that kind of scenario is we'll go to drive-through only. We'll just close the lobby, like lock the front door, so people can, if they have an appointment or whatever to sit with a banker, they can come in. We'll let them in, no worries. But like, if you just need to cash a check or pull some money out of your account or whatever, like just go through the drive-through, because for one person to try to juggle like both the drive-through side and the like lobby side is just too much. So just centralize them into the two drive-through lanes. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of people who are not happy about all this. It's like every single customer, it's like, why were you guys closed? Why is the door locked? A lot of people coming up and pulling on the door, and it's locked. And there's a sign on the door that says, sorry, our lobby is closed. Please go to the drive-through. But nobody, like rule number one of putting a sign on a door is nobody's going to read it. Like it's invisible. People won't see it. And I'm the same way. I don't see those things. You know, when you're walking in a store or whatever, you're not paying attention to all the 100 pieces of paper on the window. You don't. Anyway, so, and then they'd be telling me later, well, there really should be a sign. It's like, well, there's a sign. You just didn't see it because you're a human being and paper is invisible when it's taped to glass. So that's just how our eyes work, apparently. But again, no judgment. I'm the same way. Anyway, but yeah, so you get people who come and they just try to come in the bank just like they normally would, didn't think anything of it. They don't know what's going on in my life, They don't know what's going on. They don't know people who've had COVID. They don't, but they come and the door's locked, so then they go back, get in their car, and they come around to the drive-thru, and then they have to wait in line because there's a line wrapped around the building a lot of the time, and they wait in line just to get up to the window, and they want to know why they had to do all that, and I understand that. So some people were frustrated, and that's understandable. Some people were like, why were you closed? And then when you tell them, like, well, we're understaffed and people had COVID, then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Some people were sympathetic about it, compassionate about it, which was cool. Some people started out angry, and then when you explained it to them, they were like, okay, I'm still a little frustrated, but I get it, You get the whole spectrum. And you had there's some people that I think were just, even if there wasn't anything to be mad about, they were going to find something, If you've ever worked in retail, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you work in like customer service or a retail environment, you work in food service, if you've ever had a job like that, you know exactly what I mean. Is those kinds of customers, right? So I had this one guy. So picture the bank has 2 drive-through lanes, right? And then the third lane is the ATM. Okay, so a lot of these people that are coming and waiting in line for the drive-through, they really could just go to the ATM, but that would be a whole other thing to learn how to use an ATM, and they just don't want to go down that road. But at one point, I have somebody in the far lane, and at the moment, there's no car in the closer lane, the lane closer to the building. This guy, he's driving one of those like, those kind of RV van things, like what do they call that? Econoline or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Like those, it looks like a big van, but it's kind of like a mini RV, like mini camper kind of thing. Anyway, he's driving one of those. He parks it in front of the ATM so nobody else can use it, gets out, and he walks over to the window, to the first lane right, close to me. And he's, and I'm in the middle of a conversation with the guy in the second lane, and trying to, he's already grumpy, he's in a hurry, and I'm talking to him about, what he needs to send over in the tube to me so I can do his transaction for him. And this other guy just waltzes right up. I'm in the middle of this conversation with the other guy, and you got to hit the button to talk to the one lane, and then you got to turn that off and hit the other button, and anyway. So he just walks up and starts yelling at me through the window, and we're maybe 3 feet apart, but there's glass between us. But it's like we're standing a little bit closer than I would feel comfortable to if we were, if there wasn't glass between us. But anyway, he's like right up at the window, and he's yelling at me, and it's just like, well, okay, like, I'm sorry, I have to cut this off. Like, so I switch over to his line, and I'm talking to him, and he's like, sorry, I'm over 10 feet. I'm like, oh, okay. Like his car, it took me a second to realize what he's saying. Like his vehicle was too high, so that's why he felt he needed to park it and walk over, which is like, for one thing, you could have called us on the phone, and we would have answered and said, oh, okay, just come inside. We'll accommodate that just in this one. We'll make an exception for you. But in this case, he chose to walk up, which is understandable. But then, the fact that he was, interrupting, and the fact that he, parked his vehicle in front of the ATM so nobody else could use the ATM was kind of a little bit inconsiderate. I'm just going to go out there and say that was inconsiderate. And the people who were honking at his empty car would agree. Anyway, so all that's going on. So he's, yelling at me through the glass. He wants to know why we're closed, and I explain to him. And I tell him, well, some people tested positive for COVID, and he, waves his hand and I'm like, okay, and we get all, that COVID's, been a very hot-button political issue, among other things, and, my work was requiring me to wear a mask, too. He didn't like that, because they were like, okay, you can come out of quarantine, and he's not happy. I really do not care whether anybody at my work thinks that COVID is real. I'm just not interested in having that conversation. It's like, I just want to get your transaction done. And you know what? I'm not a scientist. You're not a scientist. Neither of us is really qualified to have this argument beyond a certain point. I'm just not interested in this conversation. I got to tell you guys,